All right, thank you all. It's great to be here. And as soon as they get that up, I'll start. Well, I can tell you what we're doing. I'm talking about the importance of self-expression and interaction for growth and energy, both for individuals and groups and organizations. So that's what we're talking about. I've got a theory to present. I'll spend the first half on the theory, roughly a little more than that, and then the second half on a case study of a community organization. And y'all probably know what that is. It's bettershreveport.org. I'm the executive director of that and founded it with some other folks. Knowledge-based affect is what I've worked on in the past, and it's a theory that says we like perceptions that fit with our knowledge, and that it saves energy to digest those things that we see that already fit with our knowledge. It's really an information processing theory of aesthetics. I've used it to describe how we collaboratively order our experience by talking with other people. That we articulate our experience, we reiterate it, we want to see it again as we talk with other people. We typify it, we stabilize it with names and places and compartmentalize it and organize our experience that way as we're talking with people. And we orient our experience by relating it to other things that we know about, other significant meanings to us and to others. And we do this for aesthetic pleasure because it feels nice to do it. It sounds nice when we do it. And we also do it for energy because it organizes our knowledge of our experience, of ourselves, and it makes us act more efficiently with those other people and ourselves. What we're doing then is creating shared understandings as we talk with other people and as we go through our interactions with others, and those become replicated, or not replicated, but as we are having the same kinds of interactions with other people. So we're really creating culture as we do that. We're talking about who we are individually, who we are collectively, who we are, what deserves celebration, what deserves protest and objection. So we're creating culture, though that may be part of something larger. Our tendency to create culture and shared meaning, our tendency to create order may be part of something larger. I think it's part of something that's linked to energy, and our sensitivity to order and energy is what allows us to see beauty and to appreciate aesthetic phenomena. Big history is what has inspired me to go in this direction from talking about aesthetics orienting culture. And David Christian's Maps of Time reading that is what has pushed me forward in this direction. I really recommend it to anybody. It's a great sort of a text to read for an overview and looking at patterns. Once reading that, you can't help but see how concentration is followed by differentiation. Things collect together, concentrate, become dense, and then differentiate. And as pieces come together, energy is released. And you develop negentropy, you develop low entropy systems, you develop organisms, you develop lots of things. But actually, Christian starts with the Big Bang, and he talks about how right after the Big Bang, antimatter, the identical particles of antimatter met particles of matter, and incredible energy was released. He talks about the formation of stars and solar systems and galaxies. And you see how concentration occurs and then produces differentiation. So you begin to think concentration is inevitable. as you look at history, geological history, astronomical history, but also social history. We have things that look like galaxies. Those are two cities in China. But also how differentiation is inevitable. This is a common occurrence in social life, and it's a common occurrence in a better Shreveport, too, that happens with us. Meaningful orders occur, then. That's the order of salt, the molecular order of salt. There's geese in formation. And they do work effectively in terms of the physics term of making things happen, of funneling energy. Steam engines have pistons that work back and forth and that alternates between compression and expansion. And then as the energy is dispersed, other sizes of pistons are used. Compost, talk about concentration, right? And then the differentiation that occurs from that, you can see the steam rising off the compost heap as molecular interactions are occurring. So order is productive, it does work, it nurtures us, it reduces entropy. These cycles that we can identify, concentration and differentiation, are somehow part of this. And there's a whole series of sort of different things one can point to. Centralization, diffusion, compression, expansion, specialization, generalization, independence, dependence, life and death, and self-expression and interaction. I think that they may constitute the formation of energy gradients, which is something that Christian and others in big history have talked about. It's as if you slope something to create difference, and that creates energy of the water flowing down the slope. Patterns of organization and energy occur in nature and society. This is the overall picture at this point, then, that I'm trying to communicate, that concentration creates energy intensity, and that creates differentiation, or there's something in that mix there. It occurs with stars, it occurs with ecosystems, it occurs with urbanization, meaning systems as well, as you develop a language and then slang and particular vernaculars and vocabularies, and organizations. As a better Shreveport concentrates and then publicizes. People have noted that we need a theory of social gravity to explain why people come together. Homophily may be, which is when people like each other, people like themselves, and we all do, maybe as shameless as that is, but we like people like ourselves, and that helps us get a clue as to what social gravity is and what it constitutes. Eric Chison in The Rise of Complexity, published relatively recently, talked about the escalating rate of free energy density. And he points out that it's remarkable how much complexity has increased if you look at it in terms of energy density. And we're a big part of that, as you can see, with regard to society. I'm arguing and beginning to think there's something to the fact that the rise of ordered complexity parallels the rise of a species and other species that appreciates complexity and appreciates order on an aesthetic level. For example, harmonic string vibrations. Here's a graph of that. If you take a wire or a line or anything like that and hold it apart a certain distance and vibrate that, and then you pinch it exactly in half, that's an octave of the note that you made at that distance. And you pinch it in thirds, that's a fifth. And then in quarters, that's a third. And that's a chord right there. And we love chords. I mean, we hear that and we appreciate that. We like this, too. We like to see how colors fit together and light goes together. And the spectrum, we make color palettes out of it to see what goes together and what fits together. We order our interactions psychologically, socially, with the ways that we talk to people. So we pursue order in social interactions. And we might consciously arrange our interactions and our associations, our relationships, to create social organization. as well, which of course is going to provide energy. We do it in our thinking, the way we think, as we order things. Ask a mathematician if math isn't beautiful. They'll tell you there is an aspect of math that is beautiful, as painful as it was for some of us. An aesthetic pursuit, then, is really part of all of this, that we're creating unique perceptions of the familiar, which allow us to build knowledge that's orderly and works for us and creates low entropy, as it were. And so this compression-expansion cycle seems to occur on the aesthetic level. Oops. So now I'm going to talk about a better Shreveport. What one case tells us about social organization and energy. Well, here we are, y'all, some of y'all in this room. We were meeting right here. That's Cohabitat. For a while, we met at Cohabitat. And we started as a group, the mission is simply to externalize conversations that we have about quality of life in our community. Just to talk about it and then sort of publish it, put it in the interactive domain so people can interact with it and they might join us. We've got a home page that describes different things that we do. We've got a weekly radio show. We've got different projects going on, a Facebook page, all that kind of stuff. There's our blog where we post meeting summaries and so on and publicize events and summarize what we've talked about at other meetings. Now, just to offer some observations on how it emerged, some of you all here in Louisiana recognize that. Hey, I see beads there, right? That's a Mardi Gras parade. Well, it did start from just friendly associations, talking with other people who had similar interests. Interestingly, it occurred, I think, and I think it's important to note, in public space. These weren't actually personal friends. Well, they were friends, but it wasn't happening in my house. It was happening in park benches and things like that. We're a homogeneous group. That should be noted. It may be important to understanding the dynamics of how culture works and organization works. Socioeconomically, racially, and ethnically, we're pretty homogeneous. There are themes that are repeated throughout the organization's meetings and our weekly meetings and so on. We seem to like to sing our favorite songs. So, for example, there's all the drainage ditches in Shreveport, and the red ones are either levees or unpaved waterways. And we like to talk about how, gee, those could all be bike paths. You could go from, water in the drainage ditch to a bike path. You take something where it's standing water, and you could cap it and make that a bike path or something. So we talk about that kind of thing. And then groups emerge. Themes become teams. So we've had the Dog Park Coalition and the Coates Bluff Nature Trail, the Texas Avenue Community Association, Better Bus Stops Coalition, the Bicycle Co-op team, different things that have come out of it. So what's going on here, really? How are we drawn to each other? And what would a theory of social gravity look like? Well, here's a sort of a shot at it using what I've worked on before. As we express ourselves in the course of interaction, making friendships, joining organizations, commenting on TED Talks, we're radiating potential energy, showing our fit potentially with other people. And it might look something like this. I mean, this is sort of how it's happened with a Better Shreveport. Where energizing conversations, that's sort of the mixer. That's if you don't like to hang out and talk to the people about the different things that we talk about, well, then you might not enjoy being part of the group. But our liking to sing those same old songs, we're hearing the same songs every meeting, in a sense. I'd like to think we've got at least a top 40 list or something, but I mean, drives sort of the boat and spins off into focused efforts and meaningful output, grants that we apply for and get, and things that we get cited on in the press or in the master plan, things like that. And so as people are seeing those things, they're attracted to processes that are meaningful and fitting for them, that they fit in with, that aesthetically it feels right. And it might look something like this, where seeing somebody or some organization as a meaningful process, people in a sense as well, individuals as well as organizations, leads to interaction, leads to self-expression in the course of that interaction, and then group participation. And then as that group interacts, it develops group expression, self-expression of the group. That becomes meaningful output. And so we're attracted in general to the energy of order. Self-expressions of individuals and groups provide that order, the basis for that order. And public forums allow assessment of fit. When we interact with people, when organizations interact with other organizations, they're judging that fit and really how good it feels to fit. So energy and work, in the physics sense, work, are created through centralization and differentiation. This happens all the time in a better Shreveport. As we interact, we sort ourselves out into more concentrated groups. That's that sort of team formation pattern that seems to happen. But then we gather ourselves together again in centralized interaction, where we come back to ABS meetings and report on this or that, and that helps nurture those smaller teams, provides energy to those smaller teams, just like an organization would to individuals and on various scales. Really, I think it's sort of like organizational breathing, specializing and generalizing, concentrating and differentiating. That sort of thing is going on. So according to the theory, well, we ought to be aesthetically cleaned up and put on our best. That is, title the group or organize the group in a way that makes sense. Fit is important. People are looking to fit. And the aesthetics of it is really a gift to others. I mean, I always used to have long hair. When I cut my hair, people were grateful. I was, wow, I really cared. And we ought to get out more often and be in interaction, because public spaces are there for that. We can use them for that. Mardi Gras parades, you know, what have you. And it'll be leavening for us. It'll provide for enriching sort of nutrients to whatever we're doing. But diversity and specialization go hand in hand. We won't be out there all the time. Sometimes we'll be more with people that we can focus on for specific efforts. And it's sort of like compost and weeding. You throw it all together sometimes, and other times you select to create these gradients of energy. And a note to self and some of my colleagues in the Better Shreveport, we could do better at all those things, couldn't we? We're not a perfect organization by any means. So the good news is that our communities benefit from the order and energy that we create by interacting and expressing ourselves. And we enjoy it. So, that's right, your community wants you, and satisfaction is guaranteed. So, thank you very much.